Panettiere. I am the program director for NJX, that is the New Jersey Alliance for Clinical and Translational Science. And we're going to be talking about our new Translational and Clinical Science pilot program. This is the second year, and this is a federally funded project in collaboration with the Alliance partners. And our Alliance partners are Rutgers, Princeton, our health system, RWJ Barnabas Health System, and NJIT. So the goals today are simply put, we want you all to be competitive. We want to give you insight into what we're looking for and how you can put in an application that can get funded. Now, there are some critical deadlines, and the first one is this Friday is a letter of intent. A letter of intent that'll be one page. We'll cover that in detail. So first and foremost, I want to thank the co-leads of the pilot programs. Not all could be on this call. Arnold Rabson from Rutgers Health, Sam Wong from Princeton, Grace Wong from NJIT, and Joe Yeager from the health system. These are the co-leads. They have formulated the RFA. They are integral parts in choosing reviewers and in making the decisions in conjunction with myself for those who will be funded. Even more important are the behind-the-scenes administrative staff, an incredible staff that works untiring to produce this program. Bill Jester, Sandy Burrows, Judy Argon, Bianca Frieda from Princeton, Anthony Gonzalez, and Pam Dolan, all of whom are committed to doing a fair, honest, and transparent approach to this pilot program. So what are the aims of the pilot program? It is to enhance, broaden, and bolster NJAC's research endeavors in translational science. Now we'll come back to define translational science. It is to propel clinical and translational science initiatives throughout NJACs and provide resources to nurture projects. So focused on the understanding of the scientific and operational principles underlying each step in the translational process. So translational study is the study of process. It catalyzes innovations that overcome long-standing challenges along the translational research pipeline. These could be scientific, operational, financial, administrative innovations that transform the way we do research, making it faster, more efficient, and more impactful. So it's important that you understand what translational science is so that you can write a competitive application. So translational science spans a variety of components of translational research. Developing new approaches, demonstrate usefulness, disseminate findings. This is what NCATS envisioned for translational science. It's the study of process. We're going to give you examples of that. For one superficial example is if I'm going to study biomarkers, maybe there are two approaches to determining a biomarker. Now, remember, these processes can be and should be disease agnostic. You can use examples, but the concept is studying process A versus process B to further translational science that could then be disseminated, implemented. Our goals are to get things into the hands of providers, communities, health systems, even the government, to harmonize and streamline process. So here is the translational research pipeline. And you notice there are cinch points that slow discovery to getting it into practice. Examples of bottlenecks in basic preclinical research: target qualification, predictive effectiveness, efficacy, toxicology. In clinical research, it's data interoperability, clinical trial participant recruitment, clinical trial operational effectiveness. And then in the implementation, time of intervention, adaptation, access, and adherence are all bottlenecks. So this grant, this pilot grant, is to address a bottleneck. That's a key word that we would like to see in applications, where your application is going to take on a bottleneck to figure out the newest, best way, a new mousetrap, in order to catch the mouse. Examples and solutions to overcome research bottlenecks. Here are 3 examples. A one-size-fits-all approach. Remember, technically, this should be disease agnostic. Now, you may use a disease as an example, but fundamentally should be disease agnostic. Low enrollment or difficult in reaching certain communities, you can enhance community and informatics effects. Administrative training. The administrative burden is substantial for study startups, or shortage in qualified translational investigators. New approaches to training. Insufficient tools at the scientific level that could push new drugs quicker. Incompatibility of databases, trying to figure out how to link databases. Think about the bottlenecks. If we remove these bottlenecks, we can move science through the pipeline faster. Examples of translational science projects. So on the left side are not, highlight bold, not translational science. Testing a compound that was efficacious in an animal, now moving to a human. That's not translational science. Evaluating the toxicity of a newly developed compound, not translational science. Identifying early biomarkers in a disease like multiple sclerosis. That's translational research, not translational science, and so forth. Let's look on the right side. Developing models assays that can be better predictors of efficacy in humans than in current cell and animal models. Develop a new assay type based on human cells that can identify potential toxicities more globally. Skipping down, developing systems to merge clinical databases and to link databases more accurately and efficiently. The key distinguishing features between translational science is a focus on overcoming roadblocks to enhance efficacy and speed of moving a discovery into practice. Think about that as you're putting your applications together. Really important. You're studying a process, a bottleneck. So what did our awardees in the first year study? Well, I show 4 of them here. One was studying a platform for probing the role of dendritic structure plasticity in neuropsychiatric disorders. An ultrasound responsive to therapeutic gas microbubbles for localizing treatment of cardiac injury. Preconception care, an ounce of prevention in improving outcomes. Assessing engagement and recruitment messaging using kiosks, participant kiosks. These are some of the awards that were given. Notice, they did use some diseases as examples, but by and large, it was a process they were studying. Now, the science projects that we funded are about $40,000. It addresses how we improve the processes that facilitate and support research, Tests two or more approaches to solve a challenge. Should be hypothesis driven. For example, process A and process B will be studied. We posit that process A will have advantages over process B, identifies a roadblock, and demonstrates relevance for others doing research. That's what these grants are all about. Very important. By the way, all these slides will be made available to you shortly after the conclusion of this webinar. Clinical and translational science themes. What can I focus on? Focus on, again, challenges, roadblocks, approaches, and processes. Be disease agnostic if you can. You can study a disease as an example, but look beyond that example. How and what I'm going to find help other diseases. That's key. So that's a relevance question that should be in. Think about roadblocks. Think about process. Think about how this process in a disease can be generalized across other diseases. Align with one of these themes, creating efficiencies by integrating knowledge, creating partnerships, working across diseases. Expand patient community engagement, explore bold scientific approaches, training, education, and organizational environment. These are some of the themes that NCATs are looking to explore and exploit. Expanding patient and community engagement. What does that mean? Well, develop a test, a new innovative way to involve and impacted patients, communities, organizations, communities as research collaborators, a partnership, shared decision-making, implement evidence-informed practices for patient and community engagement. An example might be testing novel recruitment strategies or testing different modes of patient communication, determine which is most effective. Explore bold scientific approaches, ambitious research goals that have a potential to produce major advances and paradigm shifts. Research priority setting include different perspectives in research priority settings, such as through partnerships with new collaborations. So research investments address population and patient health care. Research design, implementation, and data. Pose innovative research questions and develop innovative approaches. Study process and structure. Develop and implement innovations in research team interactions. Team science is important. Team science can be enveloped into your process. What about training and education? Well, NJX is dedicated to building a workforce development in translational research and science, develop and test effectiveness of new training mechanisms and or modules for any component of the research workforce. Rigor, reproducibility, create novel training in rigor and reproducibility. Regulatory knowledge, evaluate new approaches to regulatory knowledge and compliance across a spectrum of clinical and translational research. Remember to study process. You're going to build within that 40K in 9 months, which is really the duration of the grant. How are you going to accomplish this, and how will it improve a process? So what is the budget and project length? It's up to $40,000. The project duration is 9 months. Given the length of the project and funds available, please do not be over ambitious in your aims. Remember, if you need to have approval like IRB, that's going to take some time. So please be sure that everything can be accomplished in 9 months. There is no highlight bold, there is no carryover of funding. It is prohibited and no cost extension. That's why this is a short lease. The letter of intent, which I'll cover in a bit, is going to be due Friday with, in 30 days, the application. So who's eligible? Well, you need to be well suited for the project. Do you have a track record? Have you done work like this before? Can you devote sufficient effort to complete the proposed aims? PIs cannot draw effort. Appropriate experience in training to lead the project. Demonstrate an ongoing record of accomplishments in the field. And if the project is collaborative, an MPI can be done, and that is a multiple PI, an investigator should have complementary and integrated expertise. Who's the PI? Well, you have to have a primary affiliation with an alliance partner. That's Rutgers, Princeton, NJIT, or the health system. Hold a faculty or equivalent position. And postdoctoral fellows, residents, and clinical fellows may serve as co-Is, provided their mentors are from one of the 4 partnering institutions. Let me say that again. Postdoctoral fellows, residents, and clinical fellows can serve as co-Is, provided their mentors are from one of the 4 partnering institutions. PIs and co-PIs are limited to 1 application per cycle. Sole exception is for clinicians who may need some specific expertise to a project or patient populations that is relevant to more than 1 proposer. The eligibility for this exception should be clearly described in both the LOI and the application. What's the process? Well, the letter of intent is required. This is not optional. It is required. We are going to choose the applicants from your LOI. So if you don't have an LOI, you can't write a full application. You will be invited to write a full application. This is due March 14th at 5 p.m. End of business this Friday. The LOI form is available at the website. Again, my slides will be available at the end of this talk. The red cap form has a title, co-PIs, draft abstract, and draft specific aims. So no more than half a page for the abstract, and a page for the specific aims. Please ensure you match between the RFA and the project. Specifically ensure responsiveness to translational science. We spent a lot of time talking about the study of roadblocks, the study of removing bottlenecks, the concept of studying a process. This is not translational research. Assess competitiveness and allow leaders to start matching reviewers to projects. That's what the LOI is all about. It allows leaders to start matching our reviewers so we can turn this around efficiently. Institutional sign-off is not necessary for the letter of intent. Notification will be March 18th if you're eligible for a full application. Let me state that again. March 18th will be the invitations dependent on your letter of intent. Summary, letter of intent is required this Friday, 5 o'clock. Title, co-PIs, 1-page abstract, 1-page specific aims. We are going to use this to determine A, your competitiveness, B, your adherence to the guidelines, and C, sending out invitations for full applications. How many did we receive last year? We received about 30, and 15 were invited for applications, to give you an idea. The components of the full application is shown here. There's a title, abstract up to a half page, specific aims up to a half page. Research strategy is only 3 pages. It's a background, preliminary data, the research plan, objective, approach, milestones, deliverable. Describe the use of NJX modules and cores. You can go on our website to see what cores are available. Those that are competitive are going to be using the NJX core. For example, you can use the biostats core or our informatics core or regulatory core. One page should be devoted to how the project will promote independent funding and a project timeline by month up to one page. All told, the research strategy is only 3 pages. There are other components which are required. References, other support, detailed budget, NJX buyer's sketch, and letters of support are also going to be asked in the full application, not in the letter of intent. When is the full application due? April 11th at 5 p.m. Levels of review. There'll be an administrative review, making sure that you are adherent to the guidelines. Code leads of the pilot program and program leadership will review the applications. Additional reviewers will be solicited from the Academy of Mentors, previous pilot awardees, and prominent scientists in the field. The determination is institutional. It will not go out to formal extramural review. This will be done by reviewers or ad hocs amongst the 4 partners. Final review and funding decision will be made by program leadership from the alliance partners. The review criteria, the impact, use of NJX resources, collaboration building, potential to generate reproducible findings of high quality, excellence in the science, potential for translational science discovery, likelihood of success, and the use of RWJBH data, facilities, and patients. If that is the case, it will require sign off by the health system. The potential for publications, NJX funding, and adaptation of outcomes by our health system are going to be viewed positively. So this is difficult to read. It's only summarizing what I just covered. The final full application is due April 11th. And shortly after that, probably within 30 days, we will make a decision. Institutional sign-off is not required for the LOI. May be required, depends on your institutional policies. That is NJX or Princeton or Rutgers. See the RFA for details. If collaborating across partners and affiliates, then we do need a separate budget to be signed off as required. When will you hear? Well, we're looking a quick, short turnaround, May and June of 2025. Actual start date and release on funds will depend on if the project requires and does not involve human subjects or vertebrate animals. Modifications will need to be done. If they involve human subjects or vertebrate animals, then we need NCATS to review and approval. Obviously, that's going to take greater time. How long is the project? 9 months. There is no cost extension. NCEs are not allowed, and that's determined by NCATS. The actual project length depends on regulatory and NCATS approvals. Where do we go for help? Does my project fit the RFA? Reach out to the pilot code leads. You can find emails on our website and under the pilot program. We're happy to answer any questions. Identifying potential co-PIs. The RFA does contain helpful lists, budgets, subcontracts, NCATS, approvals. Email njx@rbhs.rutgers.edu, and we will respond swiftly. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me today. We have plenty of time. I'm going to stop sharing and we could open this up to Q&A. Please avail yourselves of the slides. We will put them up on the website so that you can review all of this content. We want you all to be competitive as possible. So we hope that this is informative. The website Sandy has put up, and happy to take any questions you might have. Thank you so much.
Coley has a question.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your presentation, Dr. Panettiere. I wanted to ask, I know you really focused on roadblocks and process. Would you consider a study looking at a new biomarker that hasn't really been used in a specific participant group versus a secondary type of biomarker that's been used quite often as something that fits this pilot or more appropriate for, let's say, a K-12?
Yeah, I think that that's going to be more along the lines of translational research. Now, we do offer yearly another application for that. But I think if you're testing really a new biomarker, then in a disease state and comparing it within that disease state content, then I think it's going to be more translational research than translational science. How could that become translational science? Well, let's say you had a proof of concept test, and that test could be adapted because it's a novel approach to a variety of diseases. But I'm going to use this as an example. Then I could imagine that you understand, Suzanne, is bridging a little different, right? Point of care, a finger stick, and because of the novelty, it could offer a platform that could go across a variety of biomarkers and diseases. That's how I would have interpreted what you talked about. Keep your eye, if you want to focus on that aspect, on our translational research RFA. We just funded those. They'll be standing up probably towards the fall.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Other questions, you could yell out or put them into the chat. I know Bill Jester is on. He will make these slides available. Give it a couple more moments if people are shy. No reason to be shy, but remember, a letter of intent is due Friday at 5 o'clock. We hope you'll consider submitting. We really do look forward to applications that are solid. We want to give the money away. Rebecca, you have a question. Rebecca Jones?
You're on mute, Rebecca.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much for that really informative webinar. The question I want to ask is probably more of a technical one in the run up to the LOI, in that I actually have a mentor and a co-mentor, and I'm not quite sure which one of them would go on as being my main PI yet. If we haven't made that decision by the time the LOI is submitted, but it could be either of them, they're both affiliated with Princeton, would that matter?
No, you know what I would do, Rebecca, for the LOI, what I would do is make it a co-mentorship, you know?
Okay,
okay. And I assume both of them are senior?
Yes.
Yeah, so why don't you do it more or less like a co-mentorship? And that way you could straddle the fences and, you know, if you're competitive, you can hone it in the full application. But I think that that's probably, you know, you don't want to burn a lot of daylight trying to figure out who's who. Why don't you put both in?
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Anyone else? If you do have other questions, you know, you can reach out to the co-leads, reach out to myself. I'm happy to help with a brief email. The last thing we want you to do is waste time. Writing grants is never a waste of time. You only get better with writing grants. So I know I see Steve Crystal on there. Of course, he gets every grant he ever writes, so he doesn't have to do revisions.
Yeah, right.
All right. If there are no other questions, I am happy to give you all. Oh, I have a question. Okay, Victoria.
No international. Sorry, Victoria.
Yes,
No
Mhm.
international.
it has to be national in this day and age. National counts. Yes. If you have someone local who could fill that role, and the other individual could be a co-I as a letter of support, that would work also, Victoria. Other questions? Can the co-I be from a different university? Co-PI. No, well, if it's gonna be, certainly a co-I could be from a different university. If you're talking about a PI, I assume, Sarah, are you a postdoc? Or senior in resident?
I am assistant professor.
Oh, you're assistant professor. Well, then, assistant professor could you could be the PI.
Mhm.
And I would make the other individual a co-I. Faculty can't take salary with this grant, and it's only 40,000. But if that individual gives you credibility, then I would think it's all right. Sandy, am I speaking truth?
Sarah, are you looking for any of the dollars to go to another university?
No, it's only my collaborator is in Lehman College, so I am at NJIT. So for that reason, I was thinking, I mean, yeah, part of the money will be over there.
Well, maybe we can talk offline. What if your LOI is determined that it is going to go forward? Maybe we'll talk afterwards and really work it out how to do that.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Well,
Yeah, Sandy would be she has the understanding of the intricacies. But really, what we're aiming to do is to have the 4 alliances either work together or work separately towards a goal. That's not to exclude expertise from elsewhere that makes your application better, right? So.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right. Well, seeing none, you know how to reach us. We're happy to answer any and all questions. Thank you for participating. And I'm going to give you back 22 minutes. Have a wonderful day and look forward to your LOIs. So long now.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Right, cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.